All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and I am once again back at Cary Imports to do not really a review, but more so of like a little mini comparison. This is the 335i BMW that I'm in, 2013. It's done like 96,000 miles on it. I recently did a review on the 2014 Lexus IS350, and I want to just make a quick little comparison with that. But this car has something that is kind of unfair and kind of plays into its advantage compared to the Lexus, and I'm going to show you what that is now. Okay, so as you can see, it's got a little exhaust on it. So I am not going to take that into consideration when I, review this car. And it's not going to be a real review. I'm just going to drive it around. I'm going to kind of show you how the interior and all that kind of is. I actually already did a BMW 335i review, so it's more in depth. I'll link up to that up above. But this is just more so of a fair comparison with the, IS350. You know what I'm saying? Because it's done about the same amount of miles, about 91,000 miles, and it's also about the same year as well. So about to see what this bad boy is all about. First off, I absolutely loved that Lexus for sure. It rode so good. It had an amazing chassis, proper suspension. This 335i is really excellent as well. I mean, I drove the 440i and I was in love with that car. It was definitely one of my most favorite new BMWs, and it's kind of based off of this platform of 3 Series, so there is that. I don't know what else has been done to this vehicle. It might have been tuned or whatever. It might not just be an exhaust, but this definitely feels faster than that 440i, and in turn feels much faster than that Lexus that I drove. So that is for sure. I think there's some kind of a tune on it. This feels much faster than that 440i. But that being said, I guess I get it. They both use a different engine. Like this is like that. What is it? Like that N55 or whatever, and now it's like the B58, something like that. You know what? BMW people, don't be ignorant. You know what I'm talking about. They kind of switched the engine over. This stock made like 300 horsepower, 300 pounds-feet of torque, or 295 to be specific, and 302 horsepower. The 440i I reviewed had 320 horsepower, 330 pounds-feet of torque. Strangely enough, all the journalist people were saying that this model of the 35i's are actually faster than the 40i's I reviewed. I don't know about that. And again, this is kind of unfair because this is like a modified one or whatever. Yeah, the kickback sensation in this far more than not only that 440i, but definitely that Lexus. But that being said, that Lexus with the same amount of miles, which that Lexus has been sold, by the way, mind you, but that Lexus, it had far less like creaks and rattles. It was a far more like solid interior. And it's funny to say that. I'll kind of mention the interior later on, but like the 440i, it was a brand new car. It's 2019. I said that was a pretty solid interior for the most part. Well, these German cars with some miles, it's not like a Lexus, man. But that being said, it's definitely a lot better than most other German cars I've been in. But enough of that. How does this thing kind of drive? Well, the Lexus had a proper double wishbone front suspension. This one has a strut-based suspension, so does the Mercedes C-Class. Their chassis are very similar. I would say that this is slightly more solid feeling, but than the Lexus. But I will say that that Lexus, the ride quality was sublime. It was just really nice to drive. This is definitely like a slightly rougher ride, and I think that this actually rides better than the 440i I was in. Actually, it's pretty much the same, but over the railroad bumps, it's not too bad. But the Lexus definitely edges out in the ride quality and just overall livability for sure. And again, this exhaust, it's not a fair comparison. The sounds, the vibrations, not the same, but I'm trying to do my best to kind of, not put that in the comparison here. The steering feel, I Actually, it's very similar to that Lexus. Actually, they both have a very nice kind of weighted feel. Obviously, there are different modes here. Sport Plus, actually the rear-wheel drive Lexus also had a Sport Plus mode, but yeah, no, it's definitely a fast vehicle for sure. That Lexus obviously isn't turbocharged. I really appreciated that naturally aspirated way that the power came on in that vehicle. You get all the boost kind of up front, and then it kind of loses out on the top end just a bit, but it has enough horsepower to where it doesn't really matter. It's a good amount of power to have. I think a lot of the people in the reviews back in the day were like, oh, the BMW has more poise and precision, and like ever so slightly maybe, but I think as a whole that Lexus was pretty good. Like, that was tuned extremely well for the streets. This, you get in it, you're definitely sitting a little bit lower in it. You do feel like you're in a more of a sports sedan. I will say though, getting the rear end out of both of these vehicles is a very difficult proposition because their chassis are so good. They have a lot of mechanical grip. You're never really going to be scared driving these cars. And yeah, these are both rear wheel drives, the one that I drove, as well as the 440i too. And it was impossible to get the rear out in the 440i as well. The braking feel is excellent in both of these vehicles. I didn't really talk about the brakes in the IS350, but it's much the same as this. Linear progression, really like that. But I will say though, like both of these cars, you're going to be very satisfied owning for sure though. I really like the 440i, and I really like this because these are not like the M cars. They're not going to, turn your spinal cord into dust if you ride in it for too long. These are relatively comfortable and they have a great feel on the road. That being said, which one would I choose, the Lexus or this? I don't know, but if you were going to put a gun to my head and I had to choose, like all things considered, I guess because of the resale value, because of the reliability, because how solid it still feels, I guess probably the Lexus. But like this BMW, like if I was leasing and had to choose between the two, I'll probably get the BMW. Actually, yeah, if you take money and all that, if I just chose which one I like the most, and mine is this exhaust, I think I would probably choose this BMW. And that goes for the 440i as well. I do really enjoy driving these cars. There is a certain sense of satisfaction, but that being said, so does the Lexus. So don't get it twisted. Like, they're both great. You're not going to go wrong with either or. You know what I'm saying? So that being established, those are kind of my thoughts. Like, they're both going to be very rewarding to own in the long term. Like, you're not going to get into one and like 3 months later you're going to be like, okay, this is boring, I want to get out of this. It's not like that. These are both proper vehicles that anybody will get into and enjoy. So that being established, this is not going to be a full review. Again, watch my 440i review. I'm just going to go through, sit in the back seats and all that stuff and see how it feels to me, and look at the trunk space real quick. Again, if you want to see like all the interior stuff, go ahead, check out my 440i review. So let's go ahead, let's get into those back seats now. All right, just a real brief look at the interior before we get started with that rear seats. I just want to show you this real quick because it is a 91,000 mile, relatively new BMW. I guess I'll show you kind of how it's aged. A bit on the crunchy side, but like honestly, not too bad. BMW definitely feels it's definitely the most solid feeling German car after like after you put some miles on it. You know what I'm saying? Is that solid as a Lexus? No, absolutely not. But it's just like, can you live with this? Yeah, you can. And obviously it's got a big badass exhaust on the back. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit up Cary Imports. It does sound pretty glorious, as you've heard at the beginning. It is a very rev happy vehicle. I definitely feel like this has been tuned over the stock. I think so, because it's pretty rev happy. I don't remember the 440i being that rev happy. So there is that. Also, you can get a warranty with Cary Imports. It's like, it doesn't even cost that much money. It's like a little over $2,000 and covers you unlimited miles for like 3 to 4 years. So definitely take advantage of that if you want this vehicle. Also, the turn signal. So this model year BMW, right? It has the same kind of turn signal that that Lexus had as well. And this is that generation where people were like, oh, no wonder BMW drivers don't use the turn signals. Well, yeah, it is kind of a pain to use these things. And the 440i, though, they fixed it. it was a normal signal, and I was like, what are these idiots talking about? It's a normal signal. There's nothing wrong with it. This vehicle had that weird kind of signal where it just stays on, and then like you have to go to the middle or whatever to turn it off. It's a pain. The Lexus had it too, so I guess it's not a big deal. But yeah, everything still works in here. There's no stupid check engine lights. All the electronics still work. One touch auto windows for like everything, and you do have the heated seats. Everything works. All the controls. There's no stupid. Nothing's broken. BMW. I mean, that's why Toyota kind of said that. BMW quality has definitely gone up in recent years. They're definitely kind of focusing on quality and longevity, so you kind of see that with this car. But it was kind of funny, you know, I said the 440i was a pretty solid car, and it is, so at least it's held up this good. You know, this car, a little bit of a rougher ride, so kind of gets beaten up over the miles, I suppose, but it's really not too bad. If you got in this, you shouldn't be too offended with it. Fit and finish, still not bad. With that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at that rear seats, because I was really impressed with the amount of space that the IS350 had. So let's just go ahead, just climb out of there. Okay, so I had tested the 440i, and it was far like more difficult to get in and out of that vehicle because it's kind of like that coupe like design. This though, I have far more leg space, far more head space than I did in the 440i Gran Coupe. So that's very good right there. I have a lot more tow room. This is very similar actually to the Lexus IS350. I feel like the Lexus probably would have had less leg space in the back. The only reason why it still felt as good as this was because of the way the seats were designed. It was like really curved in. And again, I'm gonna post that review. I don't know which one I'm gonna post first, a Lexus or this one. But yeah, as far as rear seat capabilities goes, you should have no issues. I'm 5'11". This is obviously actually set even a little bit further back. It's kind of like leaned back a little bit than my personal seating position would be. And I still have plenty of space. I can easily do a drive like this for a very long time, like probably over an hour, honestly. The seats have worn in pretty good. They started out being pretty solid, like in the 440i. They're really rough seats, but with age, they've definitely softened up. Not as soft as the Lexus, but still pretty good nonetheless. I do fit back here, and you do have the HVAC and all that good stuff. Doors have a nice solid feel when you close them, like you'd expect out of a German car, so that's pretty nice. Let's finish up with this trunk right here. See what that's all about. This trunk is really not bad, and don't mind this little bump. I just have my tripod down there, so it's kind of blocking a little bit, but this trunk, very similar to that IS350, so damn, not bad at all. This is very similar to that car, so I guess really the deciding factor between the two cars would be the performance. So let me just end this review real quick. All right, so this was a pretty hard review for me to make. It's not a review, again, it's a comparison. Man, I do really like this car, but at the same time, I really like that Lexus too. The Lexus is sold, but whatever. I mean, I still drove the car. This BMW, man, it drives so damn good. Like, it is such a solid car, definitely deserving of its nameplate, that's for sure. You get in this, you drive it, you're gonna be really satisfied driving it. That also goes for the Lexus as well. I guess, you know, you just saw the interior real quick. You know, the interior space is about the same. The trunk space also very similar. So I guess really the only two things that it comes down to is like the ergonomics, the looks, the feel. That's kind of what's going to be the deciding factor between the two cars. And again, the brand loyalty. You know, if you want a BMW, you're going to go get that. Again, very similarly spec'd out cars. You know, this is kind of like that direct competitor to that IS350 with the amount of power that this makes with the 335i. It's got the 18-inch wheels, the 225 tires, exact same setup as the Lexus. It's the exact same setup I would want on a BMW as well. It really helps make it ride that much better. That being said, the Lexus definitely rides better. It's definitely smoother. It's definitely probably aged better. And also it's going to have the resale, all that stuff going for it as well, the dependability. This though, it's held up extremely well. There's no stupid like check engine lights. There's no electronic failures. Everything works. I didn't detect any issues with it. Yeah, the interior's gotten a little bit crunchy over the years, unlike the Lexus, but still, compared to like some of the Mercedes cars I've driven, it's held up much better, and that's kind of why Toyota gave BMW like that seal of approval that they've definitely come a long way, especially with reliability and longevity, quality, all that stuff. So this is still a pretty damn quality car. I like the leather in here. It's aged really well, similar to the Lexus. I will say though, this car is definitely faster than that Lexus for sure. Even faster still than that 440i that I reviewed. I definitely think this has got some kind of a tune on it. It's definitely got that Meister shaft exhaust. I just took a look at it. Again, though, if you want to take advantage of all that, this is definitely a quick car. And if you want, you can probably swap in a standard exhaust if you want to, or whatever exhaust you want. Take advantage of Cary Imports warranty. That way you can definitely sleep good at night. It's a solid feeling car. I think you're still going to enjoy driving this. If you're in the area, this is definitely a car to check out for sure, since the Lexus has been sold. Honestly, I really like both cars. It's really difficult for me to just choose one. You know, I kind of said in the drive, you know, if you're leasing it, you know, brand new, you know, head to head, I would probably get the BMW. The driving of this BMW, it generally does edge it out for me. For once, I do agree with those journalists. There is definitely a poise to the driving dynamics of this BMW that Lexus didn't have. And that's kind of because Lexus kind of went for that comfortable ride, and that's fine. I appreciate that. A lot of people are going to find that easier to live with. Good thing with this, unlike that 440i, it is definitely easier to get in and out of and just access the interior of this vehicle much easier than that 440i. Try them both out. I think if you drove this, you'll really like it. It's really hard to just choose between these two awesome cars, man. A lot of it will come down to looks. You might like the way the Lexus looks better. You might like the classy looks of this BMW. It's unmistakably BMW. So I'm sorry, I don't really have a clear-cut answer for you. I kind of answered it, but I kind of didn't. I like them both. That's really my true, honest-to-God answer. And once again, shout out to Cary Imports for letting me do all these reviews. It's going to be here. If you want it, definitely check it out. And if you are in the area and you are going to check it out, hit me up on Instagram or something like that. I would definitely like to meet you in person or whatever, and maybe we can go on a drive together if my schedule permits. So with that, thank you very much for watching this quick comparison. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.